Well, that brief musical introduction woke you all up a bit. Welcome back to the Knit Monkey podcast, the increasingly sporadic Knit Monkey podcast. In fact, looking at my video feed, it has been 7 months since I sat down and recorded last. So, just a brief introduction to those of you who know me, those of you who don't know me. My name's Dave. I'm also known as Knit Monkey everywhere, with the all important 2 T's. I'm on Instagram as Knit Monkey. There is a Knit Monkey group in Ravelry. In Ravelry itself, you can go and find, and yeah, come and harass me. I don't mind. I'm quite, I'm quite quiet, quite demure, and not outspoken in any way, shape, or form. Sorry, sarcasm. I live in Exeter, in Devon, in England, for those of you from outside of the UK. It is a very horrible, windy and rainy Exeter today. It is Friday the 15th of March, Red Nose Day, yay! And it's sort of early part of the afternoon, 1 o'clock-ish I believe. So if the light is a bit strange, and it is a little bit glary, and also you can see it reflecting my glasses, which is really unsettling. But if there are any problems, then let me know and I will re-record another time. So where do we go from here? Okay, we'll have a few things to talk about. Main point being is why I'm actually sitting in front of the camera in the first place, and not just to tempt you with my stormtrooper full of coffee. I've kind of made the conscious decision now that I will sit down in front of the camera when I want to. I'm not going to sit down as a regular thing. I will wait till I'm inspired to do so. And anyone who follows me on Instagram will have seen my inspiration for this episode, and by the name of this episode, that there will be quite a bit of chat later on about an album that was released 10 days ago now? No, 7 days ago now, so a week ago now, which we will go into in a bit of depth later on. Obviously, as you've seen from the first musical clip, anybody who didn't recognise it, that was actually Light Up the Sky by The Prodigy. A bit of conversation about that as well a bit later on. A little bit about what we've been watching, and it would be remiss of me not to comment on some of the stuff that's been happening in my social media feed over the last few months. I've remained pretty tight-lipped about it all, not really jumped into any great discussions, but there are some points that need to be made. So let's start off with the standard. I say the standard, it's a knitting podcast. Why would you be here, really, if there's no knitting? And I didn't actually pick up the needles for the first time in a long time today. Now, I haven't actually completed a project since Christmas of last year. Now, I'm not talking about last year, as in 3 months ago. I'm talking about 15 months ago when I presented my girlfriend's goddaughter with a Video You Love Me, Susan Claudio, Video You Love Me, for Christmas, just because it was something. It was something different, something she never really had before. So, look at it. So, everybody who is a knitter, who goes out with a non-knitter, will have had a certain discussion. And it is, at some point, the conversation will come up is, when are you going to make me something? Yeah, and that is, that's fairly typical. I have put this off for quite some time. Not in a major way, but because the motivation to knit has not even registered on my radar. There's been so much going on, what with work and family and all that sort of thing. So, on the very first night that I went for a drink with Claire, we had played a game. A game, is that the way you would describe it? Where we did 5 minutes where one person would talk and the other one wouldn't. Okay, and that 5 minutes was to quite frankly spell out all the cack that had happened in life up to that point. Okay? Now, it was a revelation for us, to be fair, because we did have the advantage that we did know each other previously. In fact, we were both at college at the same time. So it had been 20-something years. We both lived quite a life. I'd heard quite a lot about exes from her. She'd heard quite a lot about exes from me. And as part of the following conversation, the subject of knitting came up. Now, she had never really encountered a male knitter, and to be honest, with my checkered teenage years, it was the last thing she actually expected from me. And within the first month, maybe, the conversation actually came up about me making her something. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, at some point. So that was March the 6th, 2017. It's now March the 15th, 2019, and I've just cast a pair of socks on for her. So it'll get there eventually. It may not be the speediest, but it'll get there eventually. So this is a pair of standard toe-up socks. I'm going to have a discussion with her when she gets home from work today as to whether I do it as an afterthought heel or whether I just do it as a tube. But it is using Judy's Horrendous cast on, and it is made out of this, which is Regia. Ta-da! In a colourway. Now, this is the weird thing. I don't like number colourways, but that's the number colourway that we've got. Really want people to come up with names for these because it's fun, and come up with something ridiculous as well, because then when you go and try and talk about it on a podcast and you have to call it the flugel colour butterfly donkey, people are going to understand what you're talking about, and also they're going to look at it like you're mental. Keeps those non-knitters away. So the one confession I have about this yarn is I don't remember where it came from. Okay, I have two balls, which is fine. Now, I've narrowed it down to two choices of people, and I would have to go back through all the old videos, the old FO and Die videos, to find out where this actually came from, because it was either from Carol Casinona, or it was from Sally Wall Diaries. So if either of them see this and they know that they sent me this colour, just tell me, because then I can clarify things up, because it is doing my head in. I can't remember. But obviously, as the FO and Die channel doesn't exist anymore, I would have to trawl through the hard drive and see if I've still got the amazing footage from the beginning. So yeah, so if anybody does know, let me know. So I will endeavour to get those finished within the next few weeks. I mean, I've got today, I've got tomorrow free as well, because the girls are off at their mum's, and Claire's working, so I've got the house to myself. Yay! So a bit of peace and quiet for a while on top of my normal hectic life. So what else has been happening, really? Okay, so those you caught up, I think I did record in this house, the previous one. Claire, myself, and Kim and Kira moved into this property on the beginning of July last year, and we're all still alive, which is good. Nobody has killed each other. Bear in mind that I'm living with 3 hormonal girls. Yeah, I am just about keeping my sanity. Kim has now turned 16. She's in her final year of school, and in the middle of her GCSEs. Kira's just turned 14. Now, that was literally in the last week, and it's meant that I've actually been able to do something for Kira that I did for Kimberly. In fact, just before the first episode, it was just before the first episode, I'd just been to London with Kim to go and watch Black Veil Brides. That were her favourite band, still are her favourite band, but they were playing concerts, so I bought a concert ticket for her birthday. This time, I've managed to do the same for Kira. But it's a much bigger concert, and in all honesty, it would actually be a cold day in hell before I walked in to watch this particular musical act. So, thankfully, Claire's volunteered to take her, because Kira is going to go and watch BTS at Wembley in June, and that was her kind of big birthday surprise. But I wanted to make sure I had all the confirmations through before I gave it to her. So she's very excited, and it's a good introduction to her to live music. Obviously, it's quite a big thing for me. I do like a good gig. I think that's pretty much all the real gossip there is. I mean, there isn't a great deal going along. It's just life. Life is life is life is life. Although the one interesting thing that's happened, sorry, wow. Apart from the fact I've had a cold for off and on for a while, and this cough is what's left over from it, I made a very weird connection a few weeks ago. At a family event. That's all I can say. It wasn't a particularly pleasurable family event, but all of Claire's family were together for the first time. I mean, I've met Claire's sister kind of once, and her husband once. I've met her parents a few times, obviously. But at this event was Claire's aunt, who I'd never met, and Claire hadn't seen in quite some time. Now, you start chatting to people, and you generally, conversation just swaps around to everything. Now, she was talking about her daughter. Now, her daughter lives in the southeast, and just halfway through a cup, I literally spat coffee everywhere. I'm not going to reenact it. I just need to have a drink. Well, it transpires that her daughter Daniela is not only a knitter, but she also has an online shop and a podcast, and was one of the exhibitors at Unravel this year. Now, she is actually really good. She's a designer, and she's been making project bags and stuff for her website, which is thecolourfulknit.co.uk. Now, her Instagram handle is, if I remember right, it's the_colourful_knit. And I sat and watched her podcast. I hadn't watched a knitting podcast in quite some time, and I sat and watched it, and she's extraordinarily pleasant. But the spinny thing was Claire didn't know I was watching it, and she kind of walked in with her back to the TV, and we were talking about it, and she suddenly went, "I know that voice." So yeah, it's one of those things where it is actually a small world, and the aunt, Claire's aunt, actually lives in Italy. So I said Claire hadn't seen her for years and years and years, and she happened to come here before she had to get a train back up to the southeast. So we just got talking, and suddenly there it is. So go and check out The Colourful Knit. The podcast itself is actually, it's really very pleasant. She's such a pleasant girl to listen to, and she has the cutest kids, the cutest little boys. They're great. So yeah, so little plug. Knit Monkey plugs. Maybe I should get a sponsor me. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So, other than that, let's get on to some more kind of geeky stuff then, shall we? Let's say, with the girls getting to a certain age, we've been able to introduce them to certain films, certain TV shows, certain music that they wouldn't have really heard beforehand. And for one of them, for one of the TV shows that I've just shown Kim and we've just sat and finished, it was a double pleasure because Claire had never seen it either. Now, it was a show over 2 series, So it had a definite start and a definite finish. And the finish was, when I watched it the first time, just blew me away. It was one of the greatest endings to a TV show ever. It also has one of the greatest central characters in it of any show I've ever seen. And I was talking about it because I was a massive Bowie fan. I really was a massive Bowie fan. In fact, she went to see him at the Glastonbury set that's just been released in tribute. It's supposed to be the greatest Glastonbury set of all time. So we ended up talking about this particular show, which obviously with the Bowie connection is Life on Mars. Now, if anybody hasn't seen it, it is a great premise for any show where DCI, so a policeman from, I think it's 1999, I think, 'cause it's just before the millennium, ends up in an accident, and when he wakes up, he's in 1973 as a DI, so he has a boss. And it's all about him coming to terms with the way the police work in the 70s. So there is a lot of corruption, there is a lot of police brutality, there's a lot of inherent racism in the force, there's corruption, and then you've got this there's background of music from the 70s, so there is a lot of Bowie, and you get the Sweet and stuff all thrown in, and it's great. Some of it is based on real events, some of it is not based on real events, where you have Manchester United, Manchester City derbies and things. Kicker Act is all set in Manchester. Maybe I should have thrown that one in. But it does have, I said, the greatest ending of any show, which I'm not going to spoil for you. I'm just going to say go out and watch it. But it's the central character that I really wanted Kim to see. Now, the central character is a DCI from 1973 called Gene Hunt. He is one of the greatest ever creations for TV, because he is everything you would not want in not only a police officer in this day and age, but in anybody, in any friend, in any online associate, anybody, because he is, the only way to describe it is, he is the typical UKIP supporter. He is inherently racist, inherently sexist, inherently homophobic, and he has no qualms in showing it to anyone. He will literally, he makes so many comments that are completely, wildly unacceptable, yet in context hysterically funny. He is brilliant. And in the, actually there's an American version of the show where he's played by Harvey Keitel. And that version is good, but the ending not quite so great. So I show this, but this brings me on to one of the points I actually wanted to make today, which is over the last I don't know, what, 3 or 4 months? So my phone's just gone mental. I'm just going to throw it over there. I don't need to see it. Right. Over the last few months, there's been quite a lot of talk within the knitting community about intolerance, tolerance, racism, sexism, homophobia, which is quite a difficult thing to read. Bearing in mind I'm the sort of, I kind of am a walking set of Cards Against Humanity. When I'm out in public, yeah, I mean, especially when I've got a beer inside me, I will make inappropriate jokes at all times, and I'll do it online, and everybody who knows me will do it online. But to read something like that was pretty shocking, is the way to describe it. Only because of the day and age we live in, yeah, and we have been taught to be tolerant. We have been taught to be accepting of anybody, irregardless? Wow, English not working. Irregardless, not a word. Regardless of their sexual persuasion, regardless of their creed, colour, anything. And to hear this being flagged up and see so many people offering people safe spaces within their little circle of the internet, yeah. It's not an easy thing to comprehend for someone like me. Okay, now I, speaking of personal experience, and before all I get underneath this video is comments that just say white privilege, okay, and from a knitting perspective, yeah, a male straight knitter is quite a minority. In fact, I could literally count on one hand the amount of knitters like me that I've encountered in my circle. And a real push, even if I took all my clothes off and used just my sticky out bits to count, I still couldn't get to 21. But obviously, it's a perspective thing. It's not to say, oh, I'm discriminated against. I'm just putting my mindset into perspective for you. Now, I'm not saying that I've ever been discriminated against, and believe me, I have been chatted up more by gay people online than I ever thought possible. In fact, I've been jokingly referred to as the gayest straight man in history. And that was actually by a knitter, and a really good knitter, and a really good friend as well, as part of a knit night, a Google Hangout knit night many years ago. And I'm not shaming you, James. It's just, yeah, it's an observation. So people make assumptions about me, and people make assumptions about everyone else. And from reading it, people have made some ridiculously ill-informed, unresearched racial slurs, and it is completely unnecessary. It's a bunch of people sitting in rooms with needles and yarn. Now it's why bring that? Now this comes from someone who is a great believer in free speech, and free speech will continue once I've had a sip of coffee. It is my belief that everyone is entitled to their opinions, no matter how deranged they might be. Everybody is willing to, able to discuss their opinions openly and honestly, but really pick your audience. So, in an effort to put my two penneth in, obviously, as I said, I am very shy and retiring and unopinionated. Okay, I say this very simply. I'm not going to offer a safe space to anybody who feels discriminated against. I won't. Because safe spaces don't exist on the internet. What I will offer is something slightly different. Okay? For anybody who wants to comment on my posts, you are free to. But if you bring bigotry, hatred, even extreme sarcasm, for any point of view you have, whether it is political, whether you are an inherent white trash racist, whether you are a Trump supporter, whether you agree with Brexit, whether you're a homophobe, if you bring that stuff to my posts, you better bring your A game with it. Because I, and this is a legal disclaimer, I reserve the right to criticise, argue and ridicule your beliefs for both legitimate defence and for my own amusement. See, I can't offer a safe space for everyone, But what I will offer is a fortress. Because if someone comes to me because they are being harassed, then I will protect them and I will defend them. And if you want to come to my post talking BS, then you're welcome to, but you won't be welcome back. Okay, off my soapbox. Let's get on to, I would say, more pleasurable things, but there's no pleasure in it. I'm going to chuck another track in a few minutes, just to cover this off, because in November, myself, Claire, a friend Becky, who is God's godmother, and another friend Sally, who I've known for many years, and as an aside is an amazing artist, a really good artist. In fact, just as a cheeky one, I'm going to stick a website and address here. We made the little journey an hour down the road to Plymouth to watch the Prodigy in concert. Now, it'd been the first time they'd been in Plymouth for a while, and it was the first time I'd heard one of their albums, and it kind of gripped me for quite some time. Little did we know, though, it was going to be their last tour. Little did we know that it was going to be the last time we'd see that maniac Keith Flint jumping around on stage. Obviously following the news that, while someone is on the top of their resurgent game, you never know what's going on behind the charade there. And he was found hung in his house. And it was a shock. It was a shock. I mean, the Prodigy had been around for a good few of my formative years. Their early stuff I just didn't understand until now. I mean, I was an indie and I was punk. The Prodigy didn't even register on my radar until Fire the Land came out, and then suddenly something new had happened. And the same with No Tourists. It was a great album, and it was someone on top of the game. And they were about to go off on tour to the US. They've been booked apparently to play Glastonbury as well, which is for those of you who don't know, it's like the biggest open air gig in the UK. It is, it has a certain reputation for massive stars, and they've been invited to play, and then suddenly out of the blue, and it isn't the first one we've lost, in the last few years to exactly the same way. I mean, Chester Benningfield went, and also, sorry, I got lost in my own thoughts then. But it does bring home quite a big point that no one knows what's happening. I mean, I'm sat here now, I might go and cut up in a fetal position and have a little cry in a minute. You'll never know. So all that needs to be said is, for those of you who are struggling, you don't need to make a big gesture online about it. I know there are those who want to make a big statement. I know there are those who use it as a backhanded way of attacking someone and instilling a sense of self-righteousness in posting about struggles that they're having. And some people looking for support only. If you're not confident going out and putting something out there in the public domain to say that you need support, just message someone. In the big scheme of things, a lot of these people are online. I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow and find out that half the people that I've been very close with and very chatting with, I'm going to delete all their profiles and disappear. But it does give you a bit of anonymity. So if you do need to reach out for some help, do so. Everyone's here to listen, even me. I'll listen to you. I'll give you what advice I can. I'll steer you in the right direction. But, But what everyone can do is listen, and it is a reflection of the world that people don't think they can reach out, and that is, that's the hardest thing ever. And it is a hard thing to reach out anyway, but if you're reaching out into an environment where you don't know if anyone's actually there, test the waters. You don't always need self-affirming comments on your Instagram post to say, oh yeah, we're listening and we understand that you are having a tragedy, and oh, that person's been horrible to you, and a simple DM to someone, anyone, might elicit a reaction. And if it doesn't, at least you tried. But always reach out before it's too late. So we will take a brief little intermission. Obviously I can't put the full track in, but I will give you a brief little clip of why it is such a shock that someone like Keith Flint would choose to end his life, and show exactly why he was at the top of his game. And there can only really be one track that kind of sums it up. So all I can say is rest in peace, Firestarter.
I'm the self-inflicted, I'm detonator. Yeah. I'm the one infected, twisted animator. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter.
And there you have it, the end of a musical era. Someone who will be missed, and for those people who were looking, forward to seeing them this year, it's you missed out. However, just on that point, seeing someone comment on the original post where it was announced what had happened, and someone saying, "Oh, how do I get my money back for the tour?" Not right at all. Okay, so let's move swiftly on to a complete work of utter genius, and the reason for this podcast, and the reason for its title, and the reason I'm motivated to sit down and talk to you guys today. I know it's not exactly been the cheeriest podcast in the world, but I need to talk to you about the lovely Amanda Palmer. I really very do. And it's something that I never really would ever have thought about an album. I mean, I've made no secret in the past of my love for Amanda Palmer anyway. In fact, Theatre is Evil is one of the greatest albums ever written. And there are a couple of songs on there that I was just deeply in love with from the first time I heard it. But it was one of those albums that I just listened to and listened to and listened to and listened to and listened to, and it became ingrained. Now, since then she's released a few little bits, a different version of Theatre is Evil, and Mr. Weinstein Will See You Now. And then she announced There Will Be No Intermission, which is the album that she's just released. And when someone talks about it, about writing, and says, "Oh yeah, this is the most honest, this is the most, forthright and naked someone's ever been on, a piece of music," and you go, "Yeah, right. It's going to be very similar to what's gone before. There might be a bit deeper story writing or storytelling," and you kind of dismiss it. But you wait for it and you look forward to it. So this came out, and the instant it came out, I started the first track on. It's that thing. It was that day. Yeah, it was International Women's Day, which was the most perfect release date for this album, to be fair. before I knew it, I'd just been completely sucked in. Yeah. The album has 20 tracks. Okay, and it's very cleverly set up where almost every track, weirdly, has an intermission. So the album title is a misnomer, but you have a small piece of music which is normally named after part of the lyric of the next track. And it blends it all in together in a way that just flows. And it got to the point where I'd hit track 19 of 20 and I had to stop the album. And I didn't have to stop it because it was horrible. I didn't stop it because I'd had enough. I didn't stop it because, I had to go and do something. Because, to be honest, a lot of stuff could wait. I stopped it because I didn't want it to finish. I reached that point where I had one track to go and I'd never hear this album again in the same way. I could listen to it a million times, but nothing would ever be this. It is the moment of life where Darth Vader holds out his hand to Luke Skywalker. Yeah, it is one of those moments where you hear something and you know you never want it to end, and you know damn well that it will always be almost a shallow imitation of itself to listen to it a second time. And you'll never get that impact, and you'll never get that feeling, that rush. And the only way I can describe it is I was completely exhausted by this point. The album is a complete emotional roller coaster. It is beautifully written. Amanda has a very unique voice. Sometimes she sounds a bit like Kate Bush, and the way she delivers things is very much in the same style. A lot of it is almost angry or bitter, but also there's a real depth to her voice. And this is completely different. If you ever listen to the Dresden Dolls, it's barely recognisable as the same artist. And it is honest. That's how I describe it. She name checks Neil. She name checks Ash, her son. She name checks other musicians. Not in a, hey, this person is on my record. She just casually mentions them in conversation. Members of the family. Situations he's been in. But there are two songs that I'm going to talk about because you kind of have to. That's the only way to describe it. You kind of have to. There's not a single song on this album that I could skip. You just can't. It's a flowing piece of material, and almost although you could take something out and put it as a single, and I've seen that, and I've heard stuff on the radio from this album since then. To sit down and listen to it in one go is the way to deal with this album, because there are so many peaks and troughs all the way through it. But there's a certain section of the album which is somewhere between massively inspirational and horribly heartbreaking. And that's the only way to describe it. And the two songs that sort of flow into each other are there's a song called Voicemail for Jill and a song called A Mother's Confession. Now, they both couldn't be more difficult or more different songs. They couldn't be, the content behind them couldn't be more different, but they work so well as a couplet that you can't talk about one without talking about the other. Now, A Mother's Confession is one that more people can relate to, because it is about doubting your ability There is a lot of the basic of the story is it takes place when Ash, Neil and Amanda's baby, is 4 months old. That's where it starts, and she makes a very standard, very motherly mistake, and there are repercussions for that. Nothing major, but enough that she instantly doubts what she's doing. And then as it moves on, there's more and more and more and more. And it is stuff that you hear from mothers all the time, especially to first-time mothers from other mothers. Yeah, you will make mistakes. You will do this. Yeah, there's an anecdote in it where she's gets a speeding ticket because she's rushing somewhere, but she's got the baby in the car, and she's pulled over by the police, and she loses the plot. She gets really upset. She starts crying, but obviously the baby in the back of the car, which is her big thought. Oh, and the theme of it is at least the baby didn't die, and that's it. Yeah, that's her trying to find a positive out of all the negatives she's got. There's quite a sweet little anecdote about Neil's cousin, who is a much older lady, who has handmade a blanket for the baby and stuff. But it is all about that, you know. Well, actually, things could be worse. I've done this, but I've done this, but I've done this, but, and it's something that perhaps should come in that little bounty kit that you get as like a new mother. Here's your kit, here's some nappies and some wipes and some vouchers, and here's a copy of A Mother's Confession. Go and listen to it. It will do you the world of good. And it really will. I can't even, even in my ability to talk the hind legs off a donkey, I can't quite communicate it. And as someone who's never been a mother, I can see the point. I can see the uncertainty. I mean, for quite a few years, I did all the nappy changes, I did all the night feeds and all this sort of stuff for my children. Yeah, just because of circumstances. And I can see where the mistakes are made, and I can see the mistakes I made, and I can see the point of it, and I can turn to myself and say, well, at least the baby didn't die. It's all good. However, let's bring us on to voicemail for Jill. Now, it's something I will never experience. It's something I physically cannot experience. Okay? However, the first time I listened to it, I thought it was an amazingly beautiful song. Just the premise behind it. The second time I listened to it, I actually, for the first time at music in a long time, I actually shed a tear. And it's something that needs to be. Okay? It's a very personal song from her. Yeah, she's made no doubts hiding it through her initial discussions about it, and this is obviously, the point where you go, yeah, it's not going to be that. Yeah, but this is quite raw. It takes place as a conversation, a one-sided conversation, where she is phoning a friend who has made the hardest decision a woman can ever make, or the easiest decision a woman can ever make, but knowing that not everyone will understand, that she will walk down the street forever after this knowing what she's done. She can be completely set, but not everyone will view her decision the same way, and it's the right decision that she's made. And that decision is to have an elective abortion. And that is the weirdest thing. for a relatively positive, sincere and sweet song to be about. And it is her phoning Jill and saying, okay, look, if you want to talk, I'm here, but I understand where you're coming from, and you know that you'll never be regarded. No one's going to really be sympathetic for you, and no one's going to celebrate what you're doing. But I understand. And that is what it comes down to. And literally, by the end of it, I don't care if you're free choice, pro-choice, whatever. Alright? I don't care if you're standing outside an abortion clinic with a sign. Okay? I don't care what kind of religious nutcase or zealot you are. I don't care if you have a casual regard for the Bible and the church's view on abortions as a generalisation. I dare you to get to the end of this song and not be appalled by your own thoughts. That is the level. I cannot think of a song, even, I was a massive dead cert that the Bed song was one of the greatest songs ever written, and it is. Oh, it really is. But this is a torpedo to the Bed song. It literally blows out the water, and there is there's no apology. There is no justification. It is just simply one person reaching out to another under a period of horrible pressure and saying, for once, we understand. And this goes back. This could be transported to any other decisional situation that someone's in. It is someone saying, I'm here for you, and you know what? I'm not there physically now, but I will be, and as soon as I'm back, I'm coming to see you, and I'm going to let you talk. Stunning, absolutely stunning, and the cover is just amazing anyway. It's, go and buy it, go and download it, go and do whatever. In fact, she's just announced she's coming to the UK in December, so I've kind of, I would say hinted, I've told Claire that we're going. Because you kind of have to. So, I can't, this is weird, this podcast is strange, because normally my podcasts are relatively upbeat, and, I do make a lot of asides and stuff, but this, I can't. It's just, it's beautiful. That's all I can say about the album. It's stunning. So after it's bludgeoned its way into my top 10 albums of all time, I'm going to leave you with a little snippet of both of the aforementioned songs. I'll put the full videos in my Ravelry, so you can go and watch them or YouTube them. You really won't regret it in any way, shape or form. So I am going to go now because I need to go and perk myself up a bit. If you do want to get hold of me, if you've got any comments to make or anything, then Instagram, Ravelry, just do it. I'm here. If you disagree with anything, come and let me know. I'm quite happy to listen. If you want to find me anywhere, like I said, I'm Knitmonkey with a double T on Instagram. You can find me in the Ravelry group, Knitmonkey Podcast. If you do have stuff that you don't want to be in the public domain, DM me on Instagram. It's fine. Or just message me and ask me for my email address, and I will take some time out. So I will see you next time, where it will be a lot more perky than this, I should expect. Just, if anything, I've said, does ring a bell, just take it, do it. Just Be nice to everyone. It's not hard. Yeah, the world is completely interconnected. Everybody's actions have implications on a phenomenally high level, and I will go into that at some point, but not now, because I'm trying to say goodbye. But just, you're there. Just talk. So I will see you next time, ladies and gentlemen, whether it will be a week, whether it will be a day, whether it will be another 7 months. To be honest, until you're all sick of me, I'll keep doing it sporadically. So I will see you later. Take care.
And as I pulled out of the parking lot, I cried. And as I pulled out on the highway, I said, right. At least the baby didn't die. At least the baby didn't die. But no one's gonna celebrate you, no one's gonna bring you cake, and no one's gonna shower you with flowers. The doctor won't congratulate you, no one on that pavement's gonna shout at you that your heart also matters.